Hello, my second grade and multi-age artists. It's time to start another new art project. Now, this week we are going to be creating some stained glass inspired snowflakes. And I would hold mine up right now, but unfortunately, it's still actually drying a little bit. You should see a picture of it in here though. So, we are being inspired by the stained glass that one might see in a cathedral-style church. In cathedrals, they often had what was called a rose window, which was a beautiful, large, round stained glass window with many different intricate painted glass bits in it. Now, in order to create such a glass window, or in our case, a snowflake, we need to learn a little bit about what radial symmetry is. Now, a couple weeks ago, we did review or learn about symmetry itself and how something, if you draw the line down the middle of it, would be the same on both sides. In this case, though, my friends, radial symmetry, the word radial means all the way around. And that's why when you look at a snowflake, it is the same no matter where you would fold a snowflake in half. It would still be the same all the way around. So, in SeeSaw, my artists, there will be a question about radial symmetry, and you're going to have to look at some pictures to decide what has radial symmetry. Again, it has to be the same all the way around. Today, though, we're going to be doing a little bit of coloring to help get ready for our snowflake making next week. So let's go take a look at what art supplies we need to start our project today. All right, my artists, so I have my folder, I have water in this cup, and two things I forgot to mention on your list. You do need your paintbrush for this project. It's going to help us out with something. And I'm using a paper plate today for my art because it is going to get a little messy. If you don't have a paper plate you can use, instead you could also use a newspaper, my friends, okay? So what we need out of our folder today is, let me pull it out, just this coffee filter, my friends, this circular, kind of thin tissue paper. This black square is what we're going to need next week for our snowflake, but we don't need that yet. So leave that in your folder, please, and make sure you don't lose your paper clips. I'll go ahead and set that to the side. Now, normally, you could use something else besides markers like crayons or colored pencils, but for this project, my friends, you have to have markers. And here's the good thing, though. If your markers are drying out like my red and my blue are a little bit, they will still work for this project, okay? So even if your markers are a little dry, do not worry about it, my friends. All right, so I have my coffee filter right here on my plate. That way my table doesn't get too messy. And also it will dry on this too, my friends, so we'll be able to move it to go dry. Here's what we need to do first, my friends. In order to create some radial symmetry, we need to find the middle of our paper. So I'm going to actually take my paper and I'm just going to gently fold it in half one way and give it a little crease in the middle. And then I'm going to fold it in half the other way as well. And again, just give it a little bit of a crease just in that middle part there. And what I'm creating is kind of an X marks the spot right now. So you can kind of see my lines, how they mark the spot right there. So we're going to be going out in circles with our different colors. For example, I might want to make a rainbow with my colors. But do you have to make a rainbow, my artists? Of course not. You can make whatever colors you would like on your paper, okay? Now again, you'll already notice, oh, it's starting to bleed through, and that's okay, all right? Don't worry about that. But we want to keep going around and around, layering our colors as we go. I even like to kind of turn mine as I go to help out with this. I'm turning that whole plate around. Now again, if your markers are a little bit dry, that's okay. You can leave some gaps. You see how I'm leaving a few little white gaps here or there? That will still be okay once we add our water. Now if you use a really light color like yellow, you might want to use more of it because otherwise it might end up blending into the other colors and kind of disappear. So I'm making my yellow circle a little bit bigger as I go. Versus if you're using some darker colors like greens, blues, purples, maybe even black, brown, or gray, you would want to color very lightly and only a little bit of them. And here's how I would do that. I kind of use the side of my marker and I go gently around with my darker colors. So you see I'm leaving a lot of white in my color, but that's okay, my artists. All right, so I'm working my way around. And I'm going to go all the way to the edges of my paper. So I'm going to speed this step up now, my friends, until I get all the way to the edges, and you'll see how mine looks when I'm all done using my markers. Here I go. So here's how mine looks right now with just my marker. And again, I kind of left those darker colors a little bit open because they're going to blend in a moment, okay? So here's mine off the paper. I went all the way to the edge. That's really important, my friends. And the nice thing is that my plate has already caught some of my mess. So again, that's why we're putting something under our artwork this week. Now we get to add water to this, and the effect that's going to happen, my friends, after we add water is kind of a blending effect. You see how my colors have kind of blended together? So here's what I don't want to do, my friends. I don't want to take my water and just dump it on there. No, no, no. If it's soaking wet, your colors will all mix to just brown. The other thing I don't want to do is paint my water on. Instead, we're going to kind of do a little bit of a dripping effect. So I'm going to take Pete, and I'm going to just go ahead and let some of my water drip off of my paintbrush. I'm not shaking my paintbrush super hard. I'm just kind of almost letting the water fall off in some places. And as you can see, some of the colors are starting to mix together a little bit. Now, if there's specific areas I want to put water, I can even just go ahead and tap my paintbrush on those points to start those colors mixing. But I don't want to put a ton of water in just one area. So I'll spread my water out as I'm going. Again, just getting little dots at a time, not too much, dot, dot, not a lot, just like our glue, right? And my colors are slowly starting to blend together, almost like tie-dye, my friends. Make sure I go all the way to my edges, where my purple is. Get some water out there so that can start mixing a little bit. And again, I'm not using a ton of water, just a little bit here and there. Now again, I don't want to push back and forth because that will mix my colors too much. I just want to dot in some areas. Make sure I get those last few ones kind of in the center where I want. So here is the effect that we're kind of looking for, my friends. My colors have kind of blended together in almost that kind of very pretty tie-dye kind of effect. Now, the reason we're doing this step today, my friends, and not the snowflake yet, is because this step is going to need some time to dry. You're going to need to leave this friend alone. Don't pick it up, don't peel it, don't mess with it, because one, it could rip, and two, the colors will blend together in different ways that might turn to brown, okay? So please leave this out somewhere to dry, and then next week, artists, I will be teaching you how to make a snowflake so we can add that on top of our artwork, just like so, okay? So today is just a nice kind of easy, fun little bit. You don't have to do too much. All right, artists, so leave this to dry. And remember, go back to SeeSaw. There's going to be a question about radial symmetry. You're going to have to look at a couple pictures and decide which ones show radial symmetry. They're the same all the way around. And which ones maybe aren't the same all the way around, okay? So look carefully at those photos that will be on that assignment and only circle the ones that show radial symmetry. Again, they're the same all the way around, okay? All right, artists, I hope you had some fun doing just some light coloring and watering with your paintbrush pet. I'm going to go ahead and say goodbye now. And as always, artists, have fun creating.